Berto, we haven't done an episode in which we just do tough or bluffs in a while, just to kind
tough.
of shoot the stuff. Yeah. So let's do that today. What do you say?
Let's do it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I am a therapist and a professor.
My name is Humberto Castañeda, and I repair Swatch watches.
Today, we have two very special guests with us from the Unpopular Culture podcast, Michael Drane and Corey Stewart.
Yes, hello.
Please introduce yourselves to the podcast.
Hello, my name is Michael Drane from Unpopular Culture. I am so glad to be here. And I got Corey Stewart right next to me. Oh my God,
Hey, what's
Corey
up?
Stewart.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Do you realize that we had these guys on another podcast, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. Turns out we can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like, they're permanent fixtures.
Well, my
now.
listeners keep asking me to do stuff with Kirk. They're like, hey, you should tackle this with Dr. Kirk, man.
Oh.
All right, so let's tackle this one. This is a tough or bluff, otherwise known as true or false. Research shows that people rate art higher when they're told it's expensive and liked by others. Tough or bluff? Berto, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go tough on this one. It's like peer pressure.
Yeah.
Wait, guys, hold on. Okay? If it's tough,
It's true.
it's true.
Bluff, it's not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You don't know the rules of
No.
engagement?
This sounds very similar to Truth or Dare. So I'm
okay,
hoping
okay. Are you going to
you
dare?
guys are going to make me jump out the window or something.
Yes.
All right.
So what do you think? Research shows that people rate art higher when they're told it's expensive and liked by others. Tough or bluff?
That's tough.
Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely tough. Perception is everything.
You guys are right. It's tough. Next one. People who prefer to not depend on others feel more gratitude after getting a gift. Tough or bluff? What do you think? People who prefer to not depend on others feel more gratitude after getting a gift. Berto, what do you think?
No, that's bluff.
Yeah, why?
That's a bluff. Because they're like, when they get the gift, they're like, God damn it, now I owe this person something.
Interesting.
I should be like self-reliant.
Interesting.
I'm calling bluff. People that are not dependent on others usually probably are so for a reason. They're probably not comfortable or don't like having to depend on others, and they might perceive that gift as a
Obligation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree. Bluff.
You guys are all smarties. It is bluff. The speculation that you are speculating, it seems highly likely, but
It's highly
It's not speculative.
but the research didn't look into the factors. All right, tough or bluff. When high schools start later in the morning, teens do not get more sleep. Tough or bluff. When high schools start later in the morning, teens do not get more sleep. Tough or bluff?
I mean, I'm gonna go with bluff because I want to hope that it actually does help. But I remember being a teen, and if school starts later, I'm probably gonna stay up later. So, but I'm gonna violate my gut instinct and go bluff.
Okay.
I'm going to say bluff. Although I did read research that said that they do get more sleep later. I know I personally, Michael Drane in high school.
But that would be bluff. So bluff is you're going to agree with that research you read.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then bluff. Yes.
Are you sure?
Well, reread it because that's what
When high schools start later in the morning, teens do not get more sleep.
And I'm saying bluff is the research you read.
Right. Well,
They do get.
the research I read reinforces what you're saying.
That
Kirk.
they don't get more sleep?
That they do.
That they do. So
Sorry.
you got to go
So
bluff.
Okay.
If you agree with the research.
All right. My high school had something called late start. So every Wednesday, school started like 2 hours later because teachers were in meetings or something.
Yeah.
And this was like a little mini break, and I definitely did not get any more sleep. That was just an excuse to stay up later.
Yeah.
As a teenager.
That's my gut. That would be tough. That would make this true.
Okay.
But I'm saying I'm going to trust the research you read and go bluff.
Okay. Cool.
What do you think, Corey?
I think it depends on the parents you have.
Oh.
Whoa.
Snap.
How does it depend on that?
Because all my friends, they would stay up. We had late start too every Wednesday.
Did you
But
really?
my parents were like, hell no.
Oh. Well, so then you got to average it out. How many more parents are there of one type than the other?
True.
So tough or bluff?
tough or bluff.
No idea.
You're saying tough, I think.
She's saying tough.
Sure.
Okay.
Tough to the double negative.
Yeah.
Sure, start with a tough.
It's bluff. Research shows that teens get more sleep when high schools start later in the morning.
Yeah.
Later start times were also associated with fewer car accidents and less daytime sleepiness.
And that's what I was hoping because Of course, right? But I just kind of look back and I'm like, I probably would have abused that system.
Oh, I would have, absolutely.
I think the part of it is that people will quote unquote abuse it, but they won't abuse it to negate the later start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, 7:30 was my high school start time. What was your start time, Corey?
Yeah, 7:30, I think.
That's insane.
It's insane.
It is insane.
Who does anything at 7:30?
I can't even wake up at 7:30.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. And for many people, they'd have to get up at 5:30 or 5 or something, before they got the whole ball rolling. Before
That's right.
And then the teachers, they got to wake up that early too. So everyone is just like in this perpetual state of
zombiness.
of problem, and it's all because of because I've been in arguments with teachers about this. I'm like, why don't you guys just move everything later? And what they'll always say is, well, I want to be done earlier so I can move on with my day. And I'm
This
like,
argument drives me insane.
that's completely illogical.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a 24-hour clock. You can slay your 8 hours wherever you want within there.
No, I can relate to the argument because I do it the opposite way. I'm like, why are you going to bed so late? So I can have more time.
You don't get any more time. It's just math. It's okay.
Yeah. Michael, I am so glad that pisses you
Oh, it
off.
drives me insane.
The same level it pisses me off.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. If
Yeah.
anything, it's smarter. Push it a little later. Avoid rush hour traffic because that's the reason for less car accidents.
But what does later mean? 7:45? I mean, what is the...
Well, I don't know, 8, 9.
That's still too early. It should be 11 a.m.
But even between 7 and 9, I mean, that'd make a hell of a difference for me.
Well, I think elementary school starts around 9 a lot of times. They'll stagger it, right? They'll be like high school, then middle school, then elementary school. Anyway, Tougher Bluff. 12% of airline pilots are suffering from major depression, and 4% of airline pilots have had recent suicidal thoughts. Tougher Bluff.
Oh my
What do you think, Berto?
I am so scared by that statistic. I'm going to say actually it's Bluff. It's much higher, but that's terrible that's much higher.
Okay. What do you
Too soon for a United joke?
think? No.
No, it's too late.
Were they flying United? Oh, man, I don't know. I'm going to say it's probably true.
Okay.
Well, tough.
Okay.
Tough.
Truff.
I recently saw the movie Flight with
Yeah.
Denzel Washington,
Love that movie.
so I'm gonna say tough.
Yeah.
Hopefully Bluff though, because I gotta get on.
No,
planes
I was
soon.
saying Bluff the other way, so I was being more negative.
Yeah. No, it is tough.
Okay.
12% of airline pilots have been found to be suffering from major depression, and 4% have had recent suicidal thoughts. Now, your reaction, Berto, it sort of implies that it increases dangerousness.
Right.
Well, my reaction is that, and partially the reason I was more pessimistic is because I have friends that are pilots, and I've heard how horrible a lot of the airlines are, and how horrible their hours are, and how sleep deprived they are,
Right.
and so, yeah.
Which leads to depression, and you're away from your family, which
Yes.
leads to depression. So it makes sense that there would be some high prevalence rate of depression, and suicidal thoughts come with that. When lay people hear this, like yourself, Berto, it feels scary, but the fact is this is consistent with probably the general population. It's probably a little higher than the general population, but not that much. And people aren't dropping like flies all the time. Sure. You can be depressed and have occasional suicidal thoughts and still be just as safe as a pilot as anybody else.
Okay, so
would
that's a good question. Are those percentages then in line with, or are they higher than
what?
than the normal?
Then the normal
population?
Yeah, the normal. Off the top of my head, major depression, the prevalence is probably less than 12%. I'd have to look it up. I'm gonna guess around the 5 to 8%. Do you know?
I think it's 11.
Okay. It's probably not 12, but it's.
I honestly haven't looked in quite some
Yeah,
time.
I have.
It's a very small range, so
I have a
I can
computer.
guess.
I remember when you read the numbers, though, it was low enough that it didn't shock me. It didn't seem like, oh my God, that's insane.
I thought it was 11.9.
Yeah, it seemed pretty par for the course. But having said that, I know some flight attendants friends that you go from airplane to hotel to airplane to hotel, and some of them will go for a couple day stints if you fly to Russia or Europe or somewhere exotic. You're gone for a while,
God.
so I can see where it would be depressing in some ways.
So according to just a quick thing here, it's actually higher in the United States than 12%. So
Oh,
actually,
no.
pilots are so
So they're doing okay.
It says 17% in the United States.
For pilots?
No, just for general population.
So it's worse if you're not a pilot.
And
So you need to
for
become a pilot.
but also they didn't designate if these were American pilots, but prevalence rates are different across different parts of the world.
Regions and jobs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors
But the United
there.
States has the highest prevalence. But that isn't necessarily to say that they're actually more depressed. It just might be that they're being diagnosed more often with depression, whereas people in other countries might be labeled as some other label. But anyway, the point is that it might even be less. Airline pilots might actually be less depressed than the general population. Who knows? But anyway. Okay. A Tougher Bluff, a 45-minute test on intelligence and impulsivity given to 3-year-olds. So just little tots. 45-minute test on intelligence and impulsivity given to 3-year-olds can predict who will likely become a criminal, who will likely use drugs, and who will become obese. Tougher Bluff. What do you think, Bert?
Tough.
Yeah? Yeah? What do you think?
I'm saying bluff.
Yeah?
I hope tough.
Why do you say bluff?
I don't think that you can predict the course of a kid at age 3 for those things.
Well, you can, kind of. It is
Well,
tough.
Remember, prediction doesn't mean like
That individual.
absolutely for a fact that person.
no, I realize that. I
Yeah.
just, I think by 3, it seems like there's still a lot to be happened still in your life. You know?
True. And the biological disposition that's, obviously already at play, and the parenting that 3-year-old has already absorbed can show indicators that will show greater risk of criminality, drug use, and obesity. That's the point.
I just watched a TED Talk from a Canadian scientist who him and his co-workers or what's the term for colleagues, thank you, his co-colleagues have been working for decades on studying in mice and then in primates the effects of very, very early childhood mothering on the genetics, the actual epigenetics, and they've found conclusive proof with rats and with monkeys that the very early mothering changes their genetics and predisposition to addiction of, in this case, it was alcohol. Anyways, I forget, but it was bad stuff. It's like it affected them for the rest of their lives.
It's not to say that parenting at age 3 plays no role in who that person will be. Because they have what the babies in incubators, just physical touch will help them physically grow more. So it just physical touch alone, and then contact with your mom or your parents or whoever is going to play a big role even at that point. I just think you're starting really early. I mean, unless they have some serious trauma and really messed up stuff going on, I think there's a lot of...
But there's also dispositional things like the ability to concentrate, the ability to refrain from impulse.
Yeah, an impulsive test for a 3-year-old? I mean...
Yeah, well, there are differences, and especially if you hang out with enough 3-year-olds, you will see different impulsivity indexes. Some kids at 3
Maybe you got to do that.
Yeah, maybe I'll get on it.
yeah. And so now, can you say for sure one person will do X, Y, or Z? No, but
No,
what
of
they're
course
saying
not.
is an indicator of impulsivity.
And don't forget, like, the thetans enter your body at the beginning.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Nanu.
You're mixing your... okay. All right. Tougher Bluff. Children with parents who emphasize kindness over scholastic achievement do worse in school. So, Tougher Bluff. Children with parents who... These parents are emphasizing kindness over scholastic achievement.
Oh, I see.
These children with those parents do worse in school.
I want that to be
Tougher Bluff.
Bluff, damn it.
Why?
Because that would suck if that's true.
Yeah. It would,
Because that means that, like, you can't, like, well, if I teach them kindness, they won't be aggressive enough. And then if I don't, but I want it to be Bluff. I want it to be true that if you teach them kindness, they will do better in school.
All right.
And
What do
other
you think?
things.
Michael, what do you
I kind of agree with you, man.
I want to die on this hill, even if I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay, agreed.
Okay, Bluff.
Bluff.
Michael, what do you think, Corey?
I also want it to be true, but I don't know. I have a very specific experience.
You mean you want it to be Bluff?
You want it to be Bluff.
Sorry, yes.
So are you going to be pragmatic and kill our dreams and hopes?
I grew up with divorced parents, so I had two parents on one side, two parents on the other side since I was like 2, and one of them was very cultivating of my kindness and has famously said recently that in a survey me and my mom did together, she said, she answered a question that said, if you were to have a kid, would you rather they be kind or smart? And she said kind. So these are the kind of parents they were from Savannah, Georgia. And then my Ohio liberal parents were very, scholastic achievements, extracurricular activities. And I only started working hard in school when they asked me to.
So you had this unique perspective of...
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had
not
both.
voting well.
So how'd you do in school?
I did really well once I started realizing it mattered.
Do you attribute that to the kindness of the Savannah parents or the scholastic Nazism of your Ohio parents?
Definitely the latter. Yeah.
Oh, she's dashing our hopes and dreams.
I'm sorry.
Well, you're wrong, Corey,
Okay,
by the way.
good. I'm also happy about that.
Researchers found that children whose parents place greater or the same level of emphasis on pro-social behavior, like kindness, as on achievement, they had higher school performance. They had higher self-esteem as well, and they had fewer psychological symptoms than children whose parents place greater emphasis on achievement. This research is wonderful for me because I have had so many arguments with parents around this. There's so much pressure on parents to produce children who are doing well in school. It is, in America, the highest, by far, number one indicator of your success of a parent. If your kid went to Harvard, it doesn't matter how much of a dick he is, you succeeded. If your kid dropped out of high school, it doesn't matter how nice he is or if he's going to save the planet, you failed as a parent. And that's culture. And so what that does is it ends up reverse paradoxically screwing things up because, again, according to research, if you emphasize scholastic achievement with your kids at the expense of emphasizing pro-social things like kindness, your kid will actually do worse in school, presumably because he doesn't like himself or herself. They don't have a great relationship with you. They might not be so kind in the world, and this creates social problems for them, which leads to stress, which leads to them not doing well in school. And I'm having the exact same conversation, Corey, that you were having with your parents, which is, what would you rather have? And this is what I say to parents. I'm like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a surgeon who everyone hates and who hates everyone, or would you rather have a high school dropout whom everyone loves? Which one would you rather? And you will see parents kind of like really wrestle with that for a second, which I just want to say is effing
it's
crazy.
Obviously,
Really
the surgeon.
fascinating.
So I really enjoyed this research.
But I have
That's so interesting. Go
Sorry.
ahead. No, please.
I have a devil's advocate question, or a Chinese advocate, if you will. How do we square this with my preconceived notion that so many Asian parents are doing just the scholastic pressure, and then we have so many graduates from China? And
well, I'm Asian, so I'll tell you, there's a difference between parents like your Ohio Nazi parents emphasizing emphasizing scholastic achievement. I'm not saying parents shouldn't emphasize scholastic achievement because there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But at the same time, they should be at least emphasizing as much, if not more, other virtues like kindness, compassion, sharing, being good to people. All those things have to be also emphasized. Now, are your Ohio parents emphasizing of those things as well?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
I
I had a healthy balance, I think.
So your
Close.
Savannah parents gave you the self-esteem and the
the
pro-social
kindness and
and
the hugs.
how to have friends and how to be warm, how to have a good life, and then you had these other parents that provided this other emphasis. Without your Savannah parents, research shows you would have completely failed. Is the point? I'm joking, of course, but yeah, that's the thing.
Wow.
Is the Savannah parent the mom or the dad?
My bio mom is in Savannah.
I love Savannah, by the way. It's one of my favorite little cities.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I like
It's hot.
Charleston as well. Yeah, it was hot. I was there in like March, I want to say, and it was like 85 already.
Is this where Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil takes
Yes,
place?
I think
exactly.
that's right.
Yeah.
Also, Walking Dead. starting point.
Oh, right.
In Atlanta, yeah.
Oh, it was Atlanta.
Hot
Yeah,
Atlanta.
in Georgia.
Yeah, there's certain, when you say Seattle, outside Seattle, they say, oh, all it does is rain there, right? And whenever you say Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, I always have to say hot Atlanta. There's like these certain things. What do people say about Phoenix, by the way? It's hot.
As a native, I was going to ask you guys from the outside in. What do people
you
say
heard
about
Yeah.
Phoenix?
Berto say earlier, it's like,
Well,
it's hot there.
Not only did I say that about Phoenix because I believe it, but actually someone was complaining that they moved from Phoenix because they didn't like the fact that during the summer their kids could never be outside.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
really?
Yeah, people literally fall down dead from heat stroke every year.
Oh, man.
Every single year. You can fry you can cook an egg on the sidewalk in July.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
For real. For real. The sidewalk becomes so hot, you absolutely must have shoes. Or like getting in a car in Phoenix and putting your hand on the steering wheel. I adopted a habit from my dad where I would have a towel that I would carry around in my car so I could hold the steering wheel.
You don't put the little shiny thing in the windshield?
Oh, I absolutely
Oh, you
do,
do.
my friend. Oh, yeah. Sun visor. I still got it in the car. And now I'm like, what the hell do I need this thing for?
Yeah, when I first
Like a-
moved
like
to
a
Phoenix,
umbrella.
all of the apartments were super advertising their covered parking spots. And I was like, why is this costing me like $80? I don't understand why this is a big deal. And then I understood.
Then you understood.
And then I left my car out for like 3 hours.
Kirk,
An
you and
issue.
I did this. Our first conversation, we talked about Phoenix versus Seattle. It was never aired, and I don't think it exists
Oh,
anywhere.
that was such a good point, though.
It might be.
Commercialism versus enchantment.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
back
we
in
had
the
a...
day.
What is this?
We had our first podcast episode together. I was on Michael's podcast,
Oh.
Unpopular Culture podcast, and we talked for over an hour about the culture of Seattle and Phoenix, and we interviewed each other, and it was this
Sounds
great
fascinating.
conversation. And then at the very end, he said, "Okay, well, send me the recording." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you've been recording on your end, haven't you?" And I was like, "I haven't been recording anything." And I was,
God.
and I was just mortified
Oh my God.
because,
no.
because
Oh.
I know as a podcaster how
Oh,
how horrible that is, just to basically waste your time talking to some schmo about whatever.
we had to do this where we had a great episode,
Yeah.
and then the computer crashed, and we lost everything. And we're like,
man.
and then we had to like recreate it. And you could probably hear it in our voices, like, "Wow, that's a great
Yeah,
point, Kirk."
it's just the worst. But yeah, we talked all about that because you were missing Seattle at the
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yeah, I've been missing it ever since. But Phoenix and Seattle are very dichotomous in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's something called the McDonaldization paradigm. I don't remember the theorist, but the more efficient a city is, which Phoenix is extremely efficient, there's parking, for example, so there's that. There you can cheap housing, cheap everything, cheap whatever. There's a Walmart on every corner,
Ugh.
24 hours a day. One of the best things about Phoenix is this gas station called QT.
Okay.
The letter Q and the letter T. Anybody heard of it?
Actually, that's a good thing. So,
Yeah,
like a gas station.
that's one of the shining things in Phoenix.
Is it like a
Which is
7-Eleven
embarrassing.
type thing?
It's way better than a
It's like
7-Eleven.
a cross between a gas station and a grocery store.
They have
Okay.
It's actually
sandwiches.
clean.
It's always
Oh.
clean. They got 1,000 different fountains, but you can go in there and get a bucket of iced tea for $2
Yeah.
Wow.
any time of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here in Seattle, it's
They
more
don't even have
enchanting.
plastic bags at Walmart.
Right.
They ask me if I want a bag. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
And people say hi to you here,
also that.
and you're like, back off.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah,
you like
some-
cut someone off in traffic and he like waved and smiled
Oh,
at you.
and everybody's so defensive driving here. They're so like we had a car slam on the brakes and stop in the middle of the street because they thought I might have been crossing.
We had like 1 foot in the
And you're just it's like Frogger in Phoenix. They're just gonna whack you. They're gonna run you over, man.
How does it? Have you driven in Miami?
I've driven in LA.
Okay, so LA is bad traffic, but Miami is death. Because
Oh.
Miami is a lot of ex-Latinos or Latinos, and they're out to prove a point, man. And I hated driving Miami. I was always like fearing for my life. And everyone's just like, it's not just that they want you to move, like they want to cut in front of you. They want to cut in front of you and hopefully make you run off the road and die. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember our friend Carlos from Mexico.
Yeah.
He would always talk, and we'd be driving in Seattle, and some hipster on Capitol Hill would just start crossing the street and wouldn't even, not even at a crosswalk, would just start crossing the street and not even look both ways. And Carlos would stop, and he'd be like, "In my country,
He'd be dead.
I would have just ran him over."
That's Phoenix.
No one just crosses the street like without looking. You know what I mean? In Seattle, you just like, well, they'll stop. Yeah. All right, let's do a couple more tougher bluffs here. Spending money on meals and vacations feels better than spending money on material goods like clothing and furniture. Tougher bluff. Spending money on meals and vacations, things that you can't keep, right? Things that just are experiences but go away. Spending money on meals and vacations feel better than spending money on material goods like clothing and furniture. Tougher bluff.
Oh, I love this question. So I'm going to average this out and say that in general, that is tough.
Yeah.
I will say asterisk because look, I spent a lot of money in my younger years on material stuff, and 95% of it, I regret it.
Do you want to tell the story? It's been a while since you told the story about the red leather jacket.
Oh, it wasn't. This was the dark leather jacket with the red cross on the back.
Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, sure. So, to be fair, growing up in Colombia, I didn't get to go buy my own clothes. The only new clothes I got were sent by my mom. And so it was like, oh, okay, I got clothes. And when I moved up here, same thing, even in high school, she would like buy my clothes. And I never even thought I had a choice. So then when I started working and started getting my own money, one of my first forms of liberation were, I can go to like Eddie Bauer and buy clothes. It's crazy. But it developed into like, over the years, it developed into an addiction. I would like go and like spend way too much money. And one year in 2005, I'm down in LA at band camp. It was music camp.
One time when I was at band camp.
Yeah, buying flutes and stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I have a performance coming up at the camp. And I'm thinking, all right, I got to really shine for this performance. I think I need a really special jacket. And so I ask like, hey, where can I buy like...
Which I just want to say is a really funny thing to think. Because as a singer myself on stage, the last thing I want to do is wear a big hot jacket because I'm already going to be sweating like a pig anyway. And like, I might think of like a nice shirt or a nice headband or not like a big leather bulky jacket.
Yeah, I was thinking just like I need to present myself. So anyways, they're like, oh, you could go to this one place but it was like near, what's that, a Rodeo Drive or whatever? So I should have known, and I go and it's this boutique store in LA and I look around and they have this leather jacket with this big red cross stitched on the back. And I'm like, that's the one. And it was $3,000.
Oh my God.
No.
$3,000.
What? That was more than my Apple computer.
And I was like,
the big one.
I'll take it. Put it on my credit card. I'm like, it'll all work out.
It'll all work out. Take the wheel, Jesus.
I went. I got the jacket. I went to the camp. I do my performance and I sing. It's a song I wrote and the band's playing and I do it. And then at the end, the judges like tell you how you did and stuff like that. And I'll never forget this because one of the main judges is like, I really liked. Is that song you wrote? He's like, yeah, that's really good. I gotta tell you, the look was sort of distracting. I don't think that jacket's working for you. And I was like, what? Okay. And that actually, luckily, was the beginning of my cure of this whole clothes obsession.
Oh, okay.
Because what I didn't say is how much money I had already wasted over the years. So in that moment, something in my brain deeply clicked. And I was like, oh, I see. I can't buy my happiness with this. And I actually went and tried to return the jacket the next day, which is something I would have never done because of the embarrassment. Because to me, this thing represented... Of course I can afford these clothes because I couldn't when I was young, right? So of course I can.
Okay.
So going to return it would be like admitting I'm poor. I can't do that. But I went and they basically laughed me out of the store because there's no way they would take returns. And then I had to sell it later on eBay, and I think I got, which is still great, but I think I only got like $1,000.
Oh damn! Because I was gonna buy it off of you.
I know, and so it was less. So I $2,000 burnt like this down the toilet. But honestly, I could have kept it, but I decided that I had to like symbolically. That was it, and honestly, I still had other problems with money on other stuff, but that was the beginning of the end of the clothing obsession.
Sounds like it was kind of worth it.
Yeah.
In a way, it was cheaper than therapy.
except 3 years later, a very famous singer rose to the top of the charts, and what coat was he wearing?
Oh,
A leather jacket with a red.
no.
no.
Oh, my
I
God.
was waiting.
Wouldn't that be
I was
funny?
like,
Wouldn't
ooh.
that be funny? And the person that bought the jacket was Lady Gaga.
Damn you, Beyonce.
That would have been. Oh, I wish I could have made up stories like that.
like the traveling pants, but the traveling jacket with the red cross.
Yes. But anyway, so I don't know why we got on this story. Oh, I know why we did, because I'm saying
Spending money on meals and vacations feels better
Yes.
than ultimately
I'm
like
saying
long term.
tough because I learned that lesson.
What do you think, Michael?
I think when you consider, very similar to what Humberto said, how buying things can not only be not satisfying and make you happy, but you can fall into a hole with it where you are buried in your own stuff like a hoarder, and how that can spin out of control so easily. And then the documentary on Netflix called The Minimalists.
Ooh.
These guys live in this little house that's maybe the size of this room. One house though, it's all there, and they have, the guy shows me his suitcase, and he has one pair of pants, and he has underwear, and he puts the dirty pair underneath the stack of clean ones like a conveyor belt, and he has almost
That's
nothing.
amazing.
And they talk about how freeing it is, and how it's just amazing. I'm completely cut free of all this, and I kind of believe him.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I think the experiences long term are valued more. Okay. So I'm gonna say tough.
Okay. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, I wonder how much the presence of other people matters here, because I feel like I would be willing to spend money on like my dinner partner or someone like my family if I went to the beach with them. But if I'm going to buy a pair of like pink sweatpants that say sexy on the butt, like maybe that's a little bit different. And later on I'll have some buyer's remorse over it.
I see.
Whereas
What do you
like
think?
if
Tough,
I did it
tough or
with,
bluff? Do you think people, when they study people, you think...
I think tough.
Okay, yeah, you're all right. It's
Yay.
tough, yeah.
Oh, man.
They find that when people buy things, they have an initial kind of bump of happiness, but it, as you were saying, Michael, it quickly fades over time. Whereas if you go on a vacation with your loved ones, and you never forget that, and you think, 10 years later, you think, well, that was obviously worth the money I spent.
Yeah.
Where it's like, think of the stuff you bought materially 10 years ago. Do you really care that much?
The reason I added an asterisk was, and I know we got off track because of the story, but it was very relevant because there are some things that if you actually learn to somehow balance and not go crazy like I was going, and find that one piece that you really like that you'll have forever, then actually, I'm not saying this thing ultimately is probably still tough, but that one thing, that is part of you and it becomes part of your identity, and it does make you happy in a certain way.
Totally. Yeah, I just bought a new acoustic guitar. I've been playing guitar my whole life and never really bought a real acoustic guitar, and I just recently, did that. And every time I walk by that thing, I go, I am so glad I spent that money on that guitar. And it was a lot of money too.
Yeah.
And I love the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it sounds. It makes me want to play it more.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
And so,
Is that not a qualitative purchase? It's this one thing that you've never bought for yourself, and you bought this one thing. I think that's very different than excessively spending.
Yes.
Well, the vast majority of things that we buy. I mean, think of all the things we buy. Out of all the things I bought in the month I bought that guitar, it was probably like, 1 out of 3,000 things that I purchased,
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, for some purchases we could say they might have that value, but of all the purchases, especially like a leather jacket that has a big red cross on the back.
Well, like Harry Potter, right? When Dudley's like, 33, but last year they were 34. It's like it becomes
great.
a number, It's like just a pile of gifts. In fact, it's funny. I have this connection all of a sudden. When I was a kid, one year, I remember this clearly. So, picture this. I'm living in Colombia. My mom lives up here. I live with my dad and his parents. And then my mom's parents live in the same city. And so for Christmas, I never got to see my mom. Never. And I remember distinctly this one year, my grandma, my mom's mom, shows up with a black garbage, like a hefty bag, full of toys, like just full of toys. And I remember as a kid, initially I was like, oh my God, this is so many toys, right? I can't remember one of the toys that was in that bag. I can't. Yet I can certainly remember the tall robot my dad got me this one Christmas. I can remember the Millennium Falcon when I was 5. When I turned 5, the build-it-yourself Millennium Falcon that my dad got me that we tried to build together, and it frustrated me terribly. I remember that, but I don't remember one of the toys.
Do you
in
think
that
you
bag.
remember it because of the experience of building it with your
The
dad?
experience?
Yeah.
It's one thing, not 20 billion
Yeah,
things.
it's like Kirk's guitar. It's a special
Absolutely.
thing.
And I wrote a song when in college. It's not a great song, but the sentiment is there, called "Bag Full of Toys," and it was all about like trying to buy love.
Yes.
You know.
Nice. Yeah, I
So-
don't know. When I think back at my happiest moments in my life, I was penniless, surrounded by people I cared about, and I've been rich, I've been poor, and I don't be like, damn, I missed that money. You know, it's damn, I missed that person or that time.
Right.
It's the experiences when you boil it down.
Because
So-
they had money.
right, yeah, because they paid for everything. So.
Yeah. Bertie, you want to sing a verse from that song?
Bag full of toys. What a scene. No, actually, it's not. It's how obscene. That's what it was. Bag full of toys. How obscene. And then it was something like, as children, I don't remember the melody, but as children, we all knew the toys they would all buy us were just a contract paid for me and you, or something along those lines. I was singing about like how these things were like
Did you
them
ever
trying
sing-
to buy the love.
Did you ever sing that to your mom?
No.
All right, last one. Culture affects odor preferences. Culture affects the preference of your odor. Tough or bluff, Berto?
Odor as in body odors?
Smells.
Or just
well,
smells?
any smell. Body odor.
Yeah,
food.
it must be tough because if you get conditioned as a child to certain tastes and smells, I guarantee from firsthand experience that you find them more or less acceptable.
Like
So
what?
I'm
Do you have any? You grew up in Bogota.
Yeah.
Do you have any smells that are different? Smell
Well-
preferences that are different than the States?
I guess I was thinking tastes, but I know tastes and smells are very similar. Okay, a different example might be how a lot of people find Indian food very smelly.
Yeah.
Very strong, or garlic food, but you talk to folks that grew up in that culture and either they don't really know what you mean or they love that smell,
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
Yeah. So nothing's particular to Colombia.
In terms of smell, I guess I grew up in the big city, so maybe I'm just, and I certainly never liked the smell of car smoke or cigarettes. So, fuck, maybe I'm wrong about this now that I think about it.
No, I agree with you.
Taste, I will say, because there are things where I give something like, try this. This is a delicacy in my country. It's like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, no, it's so good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going to go tough still.
Michael, what do you think?
Tough, yeah. I think because you almost have to factor in taste. Was it 60% of your taste experience
smell.
comes from your olfactory senses,
Okay.
your sense of smell? I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. So I mean, it's so intertwined. But yeah, culture. Oh yeah, culturally, certain foods in Phoenix, the rain. Anybody who's from here will know what I'm talking about.
Smells good.
It smells amazing. As
'Cause
much
it
as it
never
rains here,
happens.
and as beautiful as the trees and the water and everything is, it doesn't have that smell of the wet dust, the
Yeah.
wet dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
What do you think, Corey? Does culture affect your preference of odors?
Yeah, definitely tough. I would say from my own experience, I love the smell of farms and like cow manure.
Really?
Yeah, because of
Midwesterner.
Ohio. Yeah, I would. I would drive by farms in Phoenix and
That's-
just be like, "Oh, roll down the
Case in
window.
point.
Yeah.
This is great."
Were these the Nazi farms in Ohio?
I mean, I've told the story at least once, maybe 10 times on this podcast about one of my girlfriends in high school, where she lived in this city called Chehalis. It might have been Centralia, but I think it was Chehalis, which is cow country. And it was pretty far from where I lived in that I had to drive like 45 minutes to go see her, or maybe an hour or something. But you know, girlfriends in high school, you're like, I don't know, I'll drive. I have nothing better to do. The problem is every time I would start arriving, that smell would start.
Yes.
And I started associating the smell.
Oh no!
Love it.
And I actually ended up breaking up with her without breaking up with
Oh,
her.
stop.
I stopped
No.
taking her calls because I was so embarrassed to admit why I didn't want to see her anymore.
Oh, come on.
I'm so serious. I felt terrible. A year
I
later.
think she would understand.
No,
Yeah,
she
nobody's gonna
no,
understand. I'm
come
sorry. I have to
on.
break up with you. You smell like cow shit.
No, because I
It's not gonna
associate
happen.
you with the smell of, especially at that age. A year later, she came to my city and she actually purposely came to see me, and she had gotten engaged. And she was sort of trying to rub it in, and I couldn't blame her. I was like, oh my, because I was such a dick. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I did apologize to
Did
her,
she marry a cow?
a cow patty?
Just totally go into the culture
Oh,
there.
man. But it was to her, it might have been okay. For me, I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with it.
No, that'd be too far for me, man.
Yeah, I could give you. It is tough. The study found differences in how different cultural groups rate different odors. For example, French people rate wintergreen less pleasant than French Canadians.
Oh,
Interesting.
It's incredibly specific.
yeah.
Well, there's so many different smells,
Okay,
right?
great.
So we got your wintergreen, we got your shit, we
And
got
smelly cheeses. They love smelly
Yeah.
cheeses.
So I'm going to tell you. I was hoping at least you know, because you are
Right.
from Colombia,
I failed you.
would have some kind of like just obvious example. I mean, you grew up in Savannah in Ohio, which I'm guessing growing up in Seattle, the smells aren't that different. You know what I mean? In terms of like world smells, and you grew up in Phoenix, which I'm guessing, you know, there's some smells that are, but as a Japanese person, I'm here to tell you there are some very different smells coming out of my house growing up than there was yours. I mean, we had kimchi, we had takwan. I've had durian before, which is the most smelliest thing. I mean, kimchi, you know, authentic kimchi, you open that jar and the whole house literally smells like dirty socks. I mean, but I love kimchi. I used to eat kimchi sandwiches as a kid. You got spam, you got you know, plums and lots of fish. Like when I go into a fish market and I smell that pungent kind of rotten fish smell, most people get real grossed out by that. And I'm like, that's the smell of my grandma's house.
Okay. So you know what's funny is I think one of the reasons I'm disappointing you in this case is because I grew up in a big city. Even though it's Colombia, it's a big industrialized city.
And like maybe Europeanized. too.
Europeanized. So where the prevalent smells, and I wasn't kidding, there's lots of cars. There's lots of people smoking, especially in the 80s. But now that I think about it, what I should have quoted is when I moved here and I went to my Asian friends' houses, and immediately it's like, what is that smell?
Right. Yeah, you were friends with mostly Asian
And a lot of
guys.
Koreans, tons of kimchi. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, 'cause like a jar of kimchi in a house will completely differentiate the Asians from the non-Asians.
Yeah.
Because the jar of kimchi, but the Asians will be like, oh, kimchi. And all the non-Asians just be like, oh my God, what is that smell?
What is that? And garlic for some, Mediterranean cuisine is like drenched in garlic. So, you go to a Mediterranean restaurant and it's like, that's what it smells like. And I actually like that. Maybe there was more garlic in Colombia. Oh, that's true. There's lots of garlic in Colombia. Oh, in college, Shun, my other Japanese friend, he was a college roommate. And one day I come home and he had recently been to Japan. So he'd been getting more and more Japanicized because he was born here. And so he was pretty gringo, but he got more, the more trips he took to Japan, the more he started adopting cultural norms. So I come home from college one day and I walk in the house and I'm like, the hell is that stench? And I go in the kitchen, I'm like, Shun, do you smell that? And he's like, oh, it's probably this I'm making. I was like, what? The food? That's food? And it's this stuff called natto.
Yeah.
Which is fermented soy.
Yeah.
With a raw egg. And it's like, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff is disgusting. Full disclosure, nowadays, I love natto.
No.
Wow.
Have you ever had natto before?
No, I've never even heard of the things you guys
So
are talking about.
natto is, and real Japanese people will pronounce natto a little differently, but Americanized say natto. But anyway,
Well, I say natto because,
How should you
you're
say
right.
it?
it's just, it has an accent. It's like
Natto. Natto.
has some kind of weird
Okay.
consonant in there. But anyway, the point is that it is soy based and it's fermented, and which only gets you like 5% into like the description of it. It's like chunks of brown
Slimy.
soy, but in the slimiest, like when you grab it.
You were not selling this, by the way.
No, when you grab it and pull it away from
Oh, God.
the longest string of like it I don't know what kind of rating this is, but it is the highest rating. Like you've had snot sort of come out of your face.
Oh my gosh.
Nacho, it'll go like a mile before it'll break.
It's stringy and
it's fermented, which means it's rotten.
it's full bacteria.
It's super rotten, and it smells like something is super rotten, and it tastes like something is super. But it's a Japanese delicacy, and if you put like a trace amount, it just adds that kind of musk that you might so if you just you're not supposed to just eat it like scarf it down. You're supposed to just take like a trace amount. Like you're supposed to wave your hand over it and then put it over your rice, your gohan, and then you get like a slight tanginess to your.
And these are the things that fascinate me about humans and our history is that at some point someone was like, yeah, I'll eat that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this a food now.
It makes me wonder what other cultures are saying about American food. Like, oh, the McRib. No.
Well, have you heard people talk about peanut butter?
No.
Oh, yeah.
People
Yeah.
think peanut butter is they think peanut butter
Disgusting.
is disgusting.
Yeah.
Really?
Which I can't imagine. Peanut butter is one of the most glorious things on the
It's so
planet.
like normal and bland to be so hated.
But around the world, they will point to peanut butter and say it's disgusting.
So when I was a kid, I spent some time in the States, even though I mostly grew up in Colombia. So I was exposed to peanut butter young, and I loved it. I'm down in Colombia, and I'm at my grandma's, and my cousins are over, 2 girls, they're over, and they're about my age. And I'm making me a peanut butter, because my mom had brought her, there was a peanut butter jar in the fridge. So I'm making myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, it's just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's peanut what? It's like, here, try it. It's delicious. I totally oversold it too. And they like, first of all, they're like, didn't want to try it because it looked like poop to them. They're like, this is and then they taste it and they're like, oh, this is gross. I can't believe you eat that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is manna from heaven. So it is true. Like,
right.
people,
So culture.
Culture, man.
Culture,
Every
man.
time. Culture.
When I was a kid, my mom would make, and my mom listens to this podcast, so she'll appreciate me talking about this. I think she would make peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches.
no.
Yeah.
that's
Stop.
And she would also make
Oh.
peanut butter, mayonnaise, and banana sandwiches.
oh, that sounds
that I've
Peanut
heard
butter
of.
banana.
Wow, it's interesting.
Yeah,
But
that
with,
I can get
with
behind.
mayonnaise.
with
though?
mayo.
No.
It's funny. Peanut butter and mayonnaise, disgusting. I say peanut butter and mayonnaise, banana, and they both like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
I think I can deal with that.
Yeah,
one.
maybe.
Well, what about all those like European, like lutefisk and gefilte fish and all those like,
Yeah.
a lot of them are fermented foods, and that may be the common.
Well, one of them, like I'm Swedish too. One of them is a rotten fish that has been left underground.
That's the lutefisk?
I think so. It's
Yeah.
they put I think you put a fish underground.
You let it rot.
You let it rot, and then you unearth it and eat it. That's
Who figured that one out?
Well, this is the part that is interesting because, as we all know, if you eat the wrong rotting thing, you will die. You could get botulism. You get a number of things. But you eat the right kind, and it helps your health. Except, it turns out, in some cases, like with kimchi, it could also cause stomach cancer, but only because of the salt, not because of the bacteria.
kombucha. Isn't that some kind of fermented?
Kombucha is fermented, yeah.
So that's rotten.
Alcohol is fermented.
Yeah, beer.
Everything's fermented.
Lots of
The
things.
difference with
Cheese.
the alcohol is that it's not bacteria. It's it's the yeast fermentation. So it's a different kind of organism
It's old
growing.
though. It's old stuff.
It's old, yeah.
It's stuff that was left out and then it
Right.
changed into something else.
And do you guys remember the first time you ever tasted alcohol as kids?
Oh yeah.
Like
Of course.
that adverse, like, why would anyone?
Like mustard. Like, why would you want to eat mustard? But then it like grows on you.
Oh, and then I love mustard. And same thing with olives.
Ew.
I remember thinking I would see the adults put these green, and I tried. And I was like, oh my, why would? And I love olives.
I want to be the kind of person that eats olives.
You
I'm
don't
just
eat-
not.
You can be if you believe in yourself.
I feel like they're so like I eat olives.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah, I'm an
Just
olive
tell
eater.
people. Just fake it till you make it.
All right.
Yeah, you can do that.
Hopefully no one ever makes me. I'll crumble. Yuck. Or like oysters.
Yeah, I did an oyster shooter once. That was not
I
okay.
love oysters. You don't.
Well,
guys?
you're in Seattle now.
We're gonna do oysters tonight.
Well, I love every other seafood.
We're gonna shoot oysters tonight.
Don't
Good
scare
good
me.
oysters.
And
Good
follow
oysters.
them up with
Okay.
olives.
All right. Okay.
We're
Yeah.
popping some cherries
No,
or
no.
some
I'm
You
oysters.
don't follow them up with, you follow them up with a little bit of lemon. And
Yes.
it is like, well, for people, I will say like yourself, it will at least be tolerable, and for people like me and Berto, it'll be like heaven.
Manna from heaven. It'll be like
sounds
peanut butter.
amazing.
But you have to get it literally picked right out of the tank and then shucked and served to you. Like if you get an old oyster, it's not going to be a good experience.
Yeah.
So you want.
I used to eat them on like crackers in Savannah.
And I always had them from
but
Phoenix.
then I grew up and it was like, maybe they're like boogers.
At least you had an ocean. Mine came off the back of a truck.
But that's so unorthodox. Like you actually used to eat them when you were young,
Yeah.
and then you lost it.
I just didn't for a long time.
Okay.
And then someone told me a story about boogers.
Yeah, that was me. Okay, so real quick on the Howard Stern show. Howard Stern show, a million years ago, I was listening to the radio and this guy ate a spoonful of boogers for concert tickets, guys.
Oh, come on.
How did they get a spoonful of boogers?
He went around the studio
I can't
and
believe you're doing it
collected
again.
them. Howard Stern, Robin, all of them. Just passed it around.
That's not right.
Just heavily insulted our
So let's
host.
go eat some oysters, shall
God. That is the grossest of all time.
We are weird though, aren't we? I saw a cartoon today of it's just an illustration of a dude wearing a bloody butcher's apron with a big bloody cleaver, and he's petting a little kitty, and behind him is this whole barnyard full of animals like pigs, cows, chickens, everything that gets slaughtered. And it was just kind of a commentary. It's like, oh, hi, pretty kitty. Hold on, I'm going to go slaughter all these other kinds of mammals.
we? Oh, so like all these animals we will kill and eat, but these
This is
sacred
cute.
ones.
Yeah.
Another cultural thing.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
As an Asian
Yeah.
person, not Japan, but there are
Yeah.
other Asians that
That's
do
true.
partake in the feline
That's right.
delicacies. There's a hamburger restaurant in Seattle that serves like 15 different kinds of animals in their hamburgers.
Whoa.
But
all
not
at once?
Different patties. So
Okay.
they got obviously beef, they got buffalo, they got alligator, they got snake. What else do they have, Berto?
Elk.
Elk.
And,
reindeer.
maybe
Anything that you can
venison.
anything you can eat, they have it in a burger.
Oh, I'm checking
was
that.
so-
Ostrich.
Yeah.
I was so worried you were going to say cats too. Like
Maybe.
that's crazy.
Mouse.
Ew.
Snake surprise.
All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining us, Corey and Michael Drane from the
Thank you,
Unpopular
guys.
Culture Podcast. Check it out on your podcast app.
Is it a
Unpopular
podcast
Culture.
about culture that's unpopular?
Give us your
culture
elevator.
that's unpopular,
Give
but
us
there's
your
a podcast
elevator
about
pitch.
it?
Elevator pitch. We shine a light on some of the less popular topics of our culture.
That's scripted. But yeah, I mean we do. We try to like dig deep into common things, like pop culture things, but in a psych way. That kind of
So the most two recent episodes we did was the 5 different kinds of stalker behavior, and then after that I did a follow-up about the bystander effect and the murder of Kitty Genovese.
Oh my god, this sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like our podcast.
Where have you been all my life?
Well, we're not you guys. You guys are too epic for us.
I'm gonna start listening to your episodes. And
Please
then I'm gonna
do,
Get
yeah.
obsessed.
But you have other contributors too. You have like a team of people that contribute, right?
We do. It's narrowed down a little bit. I think
whittle down to the truly dedicated.
Yeah,
folks.
exactly. Yeah. Corey and I are sort of the main spearheads of it. We have rotating guests. We have you on a lot. We have Justin Krause, a friend of mine. He's a therapist too. So yeah, and for those we'll do more sort of like this, like a discussion. Take a topic like mob mentality and talk about it. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we also kind of do 2 different kinds of shows: scripted, narrated.
Yeah, you have like a pretty in some of your episodes. It's like really high produced, like
Yeah.
like a serial or something.
We try, yeah. I write music for it. We edit it. We have recorded an entire episode. Maybe how many times did we do David Reimer, our first episode?
at least 5.
5 times at least.
Yeah.
Just being new to podcasting and figuring out how it all works and trying to figure it out. And
Do you guys do like in tonight's podcast? You're gonna find out the deepest secret of the city, but then at the end there's nothing.
but then at the end, I give you nothing.
Yeah, we try to be dramatic like that. Michael
Nice.
does.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pull it off really well. I
Thanks.
really like it. Yeah.
Thanks.
We're just trying stuff out. We're still new.
Yeah.
We started in October, and this has been so much fun.
You just started in October.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really. I mean, it took me years to even come close to what I would consider listenable podcast episodes, honestly. Like, I mean, there's some gems in the beginning, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like completely aimless. I want to close by saying that I was on the internet, and I can't remember, one of our patrons or one of our listeners posted something, and I can't remember what it was, but all I could think of when I saw it was their professional life is so interesting. They should come on the podcast. And so I just want to send out a wide net to everyone who's listening, that if you're a fan of the podcast and you feel like you might have something of interest, I think it was like a VR thing, like a virtual reality thing, or someone was talking about, and they owned a company or something. Anyway, so if you're a listener out there and you have something, reach out to us, and we can talk, because we love to have Berto be a guinea pig for all sorts of things.
Yes, I will try it out.
You've done yoga therapy, you've done art therapy, you've done drama therapy, you've done music therapy. You've
My head has been scrambled.
Are these things
with.
true? I feel like you constantly make funny statements, so I don't really know.
No, this is all
life.
true.
Okay.
Wait, which part is true? Which part are you asking about?
You're all these kinds of therapists?
No.
Yes, I am.
He was a guinea pig.
I am all these kinds
I
of
see.
therapists.
He was a guinea pig for guests who were yoga therapists, music therapists.
Oh,
I
I see.
Did I not word that right?
No, I like her version
That's my
better.
fault.
I am all these kinds of therapists.
He was also a guinea pig for we did a whole episode about a massage.
She was
place.
sitting here respecting me all of a sudden, like, oh, he's
So elusive.
educated. Like, no, he's just a guinea pig.
Wah, wah.
No, but I love it. Like, people come and they try their wares.
Dance movement therapy. You've
Yeah.
done, sand play therapy. You've done.
Yes, that was great.
You're always the guinea pig.
You are
so-
one well-adjusted human being, aren't you?
No, it's because the opposite. I have so many problems to air. I was like,
I
yes,
see.
let's try everything.
All right.
I'll try anything.
Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining us out there. Please take care of yourself, because
You deserve it.